We are already starting with a special guest today. Hi, my name is Grace, and this is the Grace and Pearls Knitting Podcast. And this is Rosie, and she's finally decided to make an appearance. I feel like normally it's Ralph. So I know it's been a little bit. I had to skip last week due to some family stuff going on, and now I have so much to talk about. So let's get started. So I know I talked about last time how I had some plans that I wanted to get done before my brother's wedding, which is coming up in 2 weeks, which is just wild to me. So we may be off a podcast again, because there's no way I'm filming that weekend. But this is my Lucy Tee by Sari Nordlund. This is made into a long sleeve version. I did do some rapid decreases here at the end. You kind of can't, maybe there you can see, just this like last 7 inches I started decreasing because I was kind of knitting this on the go and I didn't have my stitch markers, and so I didn't want to decrease on one sleeve and not know where they were because of this dark yarn, and so I waited until I had my stitch markers, and by then I had knitted a good chunk of the sleeve. So this has been washed and blocked, but I didn't really like block it out, and with this ribbing I know it will stretch, so I'm gonna reblock it again and make the sleeve like a ½ inch longer. That's why I keep pulling it down a little bit. But this is Ralph. He normally likes to interrupt us during our video chats. We'll see where he ends up. I swear every time I go to film they're fast asleep. I know I say that every time, but it's true, and then they wake up and they decide they want to join me. So this Sari Nordlund pattern starts the way most of Sari Nordlund patterns are. You basically make a trapezoid, but at the same time, this time, which I thought was pretty cool, you make this shoulder cap, and that forms a sleeve cap. So it's kind of like a set-in sleeve, but not really. It's like a mash between that and the European shoulder construction, which Sari Nordlund normally does in the patterns I've knit from her. Then you work the front while also increasing for the sleeve at the side. So the sleeve is knit continuously. There's no shoulder seam, which I really like. There's no seaming. I'm sure I picked up, did I pick up? Now that I'm thinking about it, there are no seams here at the shoulders, which is great. You put some stitches on hold, but I'm pretty sure this is worked seamlessly, which is just amazing. I'm just now realizing that. I don't think there's any seam unless just can't think. No, there must be a seam because I did knit this like shoulder pad section here in a US 6, but the rest on a US 4, and I realized that, and so I repeated it on this side, and then the rest was in US 4. Like I said before, this is a tee, so I just kept it going straight, and there's like, maybe an inch of positive ease here in the underarm at the beginning, but then I knew I didn't want much of a decrease, but I think I could have spaced them out a little bit better, but like I said, I was working on the go. This yarn I got from the Young's Dairy Wool Gathering here in Yellow Springs, Ohio, which is about an hour and a half from me. This is actually like a local yarn dyer to me. It is Morning Meadows Sundries, Fables and Fairytales DK, and the color Vader, which is this lovely dark eggplant purple, which I really like, but the yarn company is going out of business. The dyer is retiring, which is totally fair. So I got this yarn at a discount and I love it. I ended up doing a folded collar here, which is written in the pattern. And then here is me standing up. It has probably 4 or 5 inches of positive ease. I did follow the length to pattern, but like I said, I think I'm gonna reblock this so that it grows just a smidge more. I thought maybe if I just like smushed it out when blocking that it would be good, but it just shrunk right up, which I'm surprised because this is super washable that it would do that. So this might get a reblock, it might not, we'll see. But I wanted this done for my brother's wedding, and then I have one more finished object that I wanted to be done for my brother's wedding. I remember recording last time and thinking afterwards, I'm actually further along in both of these sweaters than I thought. I think for both of them, I only had an inch or two left of the body before doing the final ribbing and then adding the sleeves. So let's switch over. So this is my finished Cardi Jumper by Vert Knit. This is knitted up using Knitting for Olive merino and soft silk mohair in the color bottle green, and it fits perfectly. So these buttons I did get from my local yarn and fabric store. This one's from So to Speak, and these buttons are like very sparkly. I don't know if you can see them here, which I love. They're like not necessarily, it's like the sparkle gold was added in a resin. I do find that some of them, Ralph is getting to the treats, hold on. I did give him some treats, so hopefully that's not too distracting. But I do find that some of the buttons kind of land on their sides and I have to fuss with them. I'm thinking about just sewing this shut because I don't think I'll ever wear it open, but I want to give it its time before I do that. I do find one of these buttons especially likes to pop open. So I'll just keep an eye on that. The length is perfect. The sleeves length's perfect. So I guess I should explain how this is knit. This is knitted up very similarly to the Sari Nordlund sweater, where you work a back section, which is really nice. That's the way I like to do it, because then you can block that and then know if your gauge is right. You can also make a gauge swatch, but then it's helpful to like double check, because if you're like me, my gauge swatch doesn't always match up my knitting, which we'll talk about later, even if I do a big gauge swatch. So then I've just given up on big gauge swatches. Anywho. And then you knit the back trapezoid, then you pick up for the shoulders here. It has a drop shoulder here. You knit the front, then connect once you reach under the arms, and then you work flat back and forth. You do some decreases here for the V-neck, and then you go back later, you add ribbing at the end, and then you go back later and add this I-cord edging, which was really super easy. I'd never done that before, and I thought about just doing the double knit button band, but I thought, no, do the I-cord, and I'm so happy I did. It was not as bad as I thought I did. It's like doing half of a double knit button band, basically. So that was super quick. And like I said, the buttons were super easy to put on. I do find my sweater likes to burst out here, so I wear something underneath. It's really like not that noticeable. I've got plenty of positive ease here, but it's just the way it works. But I wanted to give a couple more months of me wearing it before I decide to sew it shut. And that's my second finished object. I'm so happy. So let's move on to whips. And Rosie's moving on to playing with her toys. Let's see, my first work in progress. Let's talk about this one. This is the Color Compass by Lily Pearsall of Curatorial Knits. Sorry, I got something in my eye. And I am doing this as a test knit. And I finished the body. I'm a little bit nervous. It seems a bit big, and I'm pretty sure my gauge just grew quite a bit with blocking. And so here's a sweater. It might be a little bit short now that I'm looking at it. But this yoke depth is a little bit, like the color work goes past the yoke. And so in my head, I'm like, oh, like this is such a long yoke, but it's not. It's the normal amount here. And then you just work a little bit after you separate for the sleeves in the color work and then into the body. So I am using the Fibre Co Lore in multiple colors that I'll have listed down below. And I used a US 9 for my color work and then a US 8 for the body. I just find that works best for me. My color work tension, if I go up one needle size, like you can barely, like, there's probably 2 inches after the color work that is blocked. But from the color work to the blocked version section there, you cannot tell a difference in my stitches, which is excellent. So I know my gauge is great from that perspective. I haven't checked my actual gauge yet. I did earlier, but not anymore, like pre-blocking, and I need to do that again. And I've just picked up and finished the color work for one of the sleeves, and I'll get cranking on this sleeve. I think this is due in December. So I got two sleeves to go. I need to finish my neckline because I was just not reading the pattern and I did the short row shaping wrong. So I'm gonna have to go back and fix that. I'm gonna record a tutorial on how to do that. It's really not that complicated, but I will gladly do that. It just seems really scary at first. And then once you do it, you're like, oh wow, that's not as bad as I thought it was. So I will do that. And then depending on this length, I might lengthen it some too. But sometimes with it being, if it is a little bit more oversized than I thought it was, sometimes I don't want it to be too long, or else like it just looks like a t-shirt dress on me. So I'm very happy with this. I'm hoping I'll wear this for Thanksgiving. I had visions, and so far the plans are coming along. So I want this for Thanksgiving, and then my next work in progress for Thanksgiving, which is the week after my brother's wedding. So that's why I was like getting these sweaters off the needles. This is my next work in progress. This is the Merging Shade Sweater by Becky Baker. This is knitted up in the Fibre Co again, in the Cumbria fingering and their new, what is it called? Stratum Transitions. This is the colorway Stratum Shift. I saw this on Instagram and I was like, I need that sweater. That looks gorgeous. It's this simple slip stitch pattern. You do like basically 2 rows of knitting and then 2 rows of slip stitches, and you go back and forth in the colors. And it creates this lovely texture design. This Transitions yarn is like 50% alpaca, 50% wool, and then the Cumbria is 100% wool. So I'm very much looking forward to this. It's super soft already. And I also want this for Thanksgiving, but this one is a little bit more of a far-fetched goal, though it is 3 weeks away. So I don't think it'll be done. I want to crank out the color compass first, and then I'll move on to this one here. But this one, I don't mind if it's not finished. I'll be okay. This is like fingering weight, so I know it's going to take a lot longer. And with the slip stitches, you know, like each round just takes a little bit longer to do because those 2 rounds equal 1 round basically. So it's just a little bit more time consuming. And it's not like the slipping the stitches is a little bit slower than knitting itself. So I know it's going to take labor of love, and it's okay if this one's not finished, but I want at least my color compass, which I do think I'll be able to get done in time. So those are my 2 works in progresses. And next, let's talk about acquisitions. I did go to a fiber festival. There is one called the Autumn Fiber Festival up in Mansfield, which is about an hour and a half away from me, but in the other direction. And I went with my friend Emma, and we had a great time. It was much more relaxing than the one at Young's Dairy Farm in Yellow Springs. That one was like crowded booth to booth, like it was hectic. I felt like I couldn't look at things and peruse and walk back and forth. The one in Mansfield was so much more laid back, not as many vendors, not as many guests, and that just made it a little bit easier for me to absorb everything. And I was a little bit disappointed in the Young's Dairy because there was so much hand-dyed yarn, which is beautiful, but I was hoping for more like barn yarns, more spinning and stuff like that too. And it was just after, like, in the middle of me taking a spinning class here locally, and I didn't know, like, did I like spinning? Did I want to keep doing it? So I went with more intentions for this Mansfield Fiber Festival, and I got what I was looking for, which I was very excited. So first, let's talk about this. Okay, so when I was at Young's Dairy, there was, which is the wool gather, was it the wool gathering? Is that what it's called? Yeah. There is a dye studio called Solstice Fiber Studio, and they have this beautiful t-shirt crocheted in this superwash merino and mulberry silk blend. It's 20% silk, 80% merino. It says sock. Yeah, it's fingering weight for sure. 399 yards and 100 grams. And this is the colorway Cucumber Melon, and I loved it so much, but they didn't have this specific silk blend at the show. And so I got it in a DK, the Daylight DK, and I hemmed and hawed, and then I kind of regretted it. I was like, I really wanted the t-shirt that she had, and so I emailed them, and they special dyed me up a batch of this, and I think I'm gonna make my sister something with this too. So I got four skeins, if not more, of this that came. But then I had my DK, and I was like, oh no, what am I gonna do with this DK? And I knew I could think of something to do with it, but they were going to be up in Mansfield. So I was like, perfect. So I brought it with me in hopes that I could exchange it, and I could. So I ended up getting this lovely dark green and purple. This is the Daylight DK, which is 100% merino, super wash, yeah, in the colorway Dragon Scale. And look at this moody green, gray, purpley color. I'm very much looking forward to this. I don't think it's gonna stripe, but maybe it will. I got 2 of them, and then I was thinking of something that could go along with it. I was thinking about getting, like, using my dark purple, and that would look really cool. And I do have leftovers of this that I definitely could use, although that's fingering. It's like a fingering sport, but I could hold it double in with this DK. For a second, I thought I had a DK and a fingering, and I got really scared, but they're both DK. We're good. And I'm thinking about using this with an art batt that I made. So this is from Prospect Specialty Fiber Mill, which is in Prospect, Ohio. And they had this whole booth where you could make an art batt there that they drum carded. So this is an art batt using, this is like the leftovers. And the person before me had like stellina in theirs, and there's like some glitter stellina in this batt too, which I'm loving. It was just like an extra little bonus. This has some silk and some angora in it. The angora is the lighter color, the silk is the orange, and then the merino is like blended in there, that like pinky mauvey color. And I'm going to spin this up, and I'm hoping to make a Misurina. I don't know if it'll be enough. We're gonna find out. This is only an ounce-ish, you know, more than an ounce here. I'll have to weigh it out and see. But I was thinking about 2 together, Misurina, maybe. And I think the Misurina is fingering, this is DK. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out later. I knit off gauge all the time. That is my MO around here. So I'm very much looking forward to that. I need to put it away before the cats get to it. So also, like, this is quite a useful bag. I'll probably use this bag for other things in the future. Next, there was some fiber on sale, and I was obsessed. So this is normally my color palette, but I've been trying to branch out of my color palette. These are Falkland Comb Top, 4 ounces each by Erin, and she's based in Hubbard, Ohio. And they're both slightly different than one another. They're not the same color lot. That's okay. Like, one is more brownie, and the other one is like, has a tiny bit more gray, but they're like, you know, they'll spin together very nicely. And I'm thinking about using this, spinning it up. Let's talk about a little bit more of this. This is 100% Falkland Comb Top, 4 ounces each. And 4 ounces of comb top equals about 100 gram hank of yarn ish. And so I'm thinking about spinning these 2 together and using this yarn I got from the Miller Girls. The Miller Girls travel to other yarn festivals I know, and I picked up this 70% baby alpaca, 10% cashmere, 20% silk yarn, $25 a skein. I was like, this is a steal. This is a steal. And like, look at how drapey it is. I only had 3 of these because that's all they had. This is DK, but I'm thinking about making a Rosie sweater. You see the vision? You see the vision? Rosie sweater? That's what I'm thinking. We'll see if I have enough of this white. This is undyed, and I think the Miller Girls will get more of this in stock, so I could always order it from them, especially because it's natural. But I'll definitely be playing a little bit of yarn chicken. And I know, like, I'm a little bit worried about this fiber content. Silk, alpaca, Falkland. But I figured if the Falkland's just in the color work and the color work's in the center, it's not going to matter as much. Anyways, this will get used, whether it's with that or not. This is stunning. Like, so soft. Like, of course, cashmere and silk and baby alpaca is going to be soft. Like, it's a dream. So, otherwise, this might get just made into a sweater. I know, like, it says DK. It's 231 yards. Like, do you think I can squeak out a sweater in 693 yards? Who knows? But I might be able to do a little bit of color work and something else in the yoke if I don't think that it would work well with the Falkland. But anyways, this is awesome. You know, I could, you see the vision here too? I could do that. That might be a thought too, because this is a silk merino. That might work well with the floppiness of the alpaca here. So that's another thought too, if I don't end up making something for my sister or I have leftovers of this, is holding it double to make a DK. But we will see. But I'm very much looking forward to this. And that's all I have for acquisitions, although that's a lie. I see an acquisition over there that I'll talk about here in just a jiffy. So I've been thinking how I need to work through my stash as I look at all the acquisitions around me. But there are plans for everything. There are always plans. And the plans will happen eventually. And some of the stash yarn I have as it's attached to me is this. This is Rainbow Beach by Queensland Collection. And this is a colorway Rose Robin. It's this barber pulling, self-striping, color changing yarn. And it's not necessarily self-striping, just like color transitioning yarn. And I was going to make a pressed flowers pullover from this a long time ago. And then I didn't like it and I ripped it out. I just, like, the colors were not right. So then Andrea Mowry's frames came out and I thought, wow, that's perfect for this. I'll use that and just knit it off gauge because that's what I like to do. And then I have some leftover Knit Pits palette as my cat goes crazy in the corner, because I was going to use this for my Seton pullover, and then I ended up not using Knit Picks palette. So I have a bunch of this left over, and I thought, great, 2 out of the 3. And I thought about using this for the color compass, but then my gauge was going to be way off and I wasn't sure about it. So then I thought, okay, let's go back to the framed, but then I would need a third color. So I went to a local yarn store. Okay, Rosie is going crazy. I'm sorry about that. And I hadn't been there in a while, and the website is not, like, the yarn's not updated on the website. And so I knew in my brain I needed to go back so I could update my brain of, like, what the yarn store has in stock. And so I went and I found this Northbay Fiber Heritage Sport. I know she just came out with a new line. And it does look a little bit floofier, but the yardage works out. This is in the colorway Deep Dive. It's this lovely navy, and I'm thinking that's gonna be the contrast. So this is the vibe. This is the vibe. And it's very similar to Andrea Mowry's framed, and that's okay. So this is a plan that'll get done eventually, but I knew I wanted this yarn, so then I knew I had enough for the sweater. So when I got done with these plans, I had something to look forward to. And it was just like looming in the back of my mind that I needed another color for this sweater. So it's nice to have that checked off the list in my mind. But then I also wanted to get some accessories. I am spinning up some Malabrigo Nube fiber right now, and it's notorious for being a little bit felted and a little bit hard to work with. And I don't know why I chose that as my first spinning fiber, but I did. We'll get to that later. So I got a Diz, this is from Catcalls, and this Diz, you push the fiber through and it helps like thin it out basically, so it's easier to draft. So I'm glad I got this. And then I got some baby snips to go in I use an Altoids tin for most of my knitting notions because it's super easy to transport and travel. Oh, that's so cute. Oh, this stays on. Oh, that's nifty. Anywho, I figured out how these work. and this will fit right in my Altoids tin, and they'll be safe for the airplane. And I wanted it in a bright color so I'd be able to find them. So those are 2 other acquisitions. And then let's move on to plans-ish. I guess I have another finished object and I want to show you. This is my first yarn-ish. I have another yarn that I did spin up. It's over there. So this is my second yarn that I spun up. This is the Malabrigo Nube Azul. And I am spinning up some more of this. This is 1 4-ounce. And these 2 are, 2-ply spun together. And this one was chain ply. And I really like the chain ply, like it's the soft transitions and the colors compared to these. Like I love these, but not for the project I was looking for. I'm thinking about making the porcelain sweater by Lynette. So I have a Rosie, a porcelain. I also have the poppy. And I want to chain ply it. So I'm working on that right now. And this turned out to be like a sport DK-ish weight. And that's what I'm hoping for my chain ply version of the Azul that I have right now spinning. And then whatever I have, if I need leftovers, I'll grab from this. This is, I think, like just under 100 grams or just over 100 grams. Like I said, sport DK, and I'm quite happy with this. I learned a lot and I'm doing much better, I think, this go around, and I'm hoping in the future I'll be much, much better too, right? Each spin you learn something new, just like each knit you learn something new. And then last but not least, because I finished my other 2 sweaters, I made a little gauge swatch. You know me, gauge swatches don't mean much. So this is my little baby gauge swatch. It needs to dry. And you probably can't see much anyways. That's okay. It's like the last yarn I did was too short. The last one. So this is the Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino. I am thinking about making the Playful Palette by Veronica Lindberg in these colors, based off of the sweater that Sarah from the 2 Pearls in a Pod podcast, that took a little bit for my brain to get there, made. I think she used like Issachar soft silk mohair held double with Issachar's other yarn, and it's beautiful, and she called it skiing in the 80s, and I loved it. I was like, I want that. So this is what I'm thinking about doing, depending on my gauge swatch. It's a circular yoke, so kind of like my color compass, I can stop, check my gauge, and block it as I go and see how I like it. But this is more of like a Christmas plan. This sweater here too was a Christmas plan, and it got done early. So those are my thoughts. That was a lot. A lot's been happening in my life, like family wise. My grandfather he has cancer. Alexa's not sure how to help me neither. My grandfather's been sick with cancer for about 5 years, and we're thinking about next steps with him right now. He's in the hospital. So I work in healthcare, and my sister works in healthcare, so we can help with decisions and stuff like that. But it's just, stress plus planning a wedding. My brother lives out of state, but he wants to get married here in Ohio, and he got engaged like 4 weeks ago, and the wedding is in 3 weeks. So it's just a whirlwind. But knitting, as always, likes to bring me lots of solace, along with my cats, Ralph and Rosie, although Ralph recently has been having some potty issues that we're working on. He's fine, he's just stubborn. I got a litter robot, and he does not feel like using the litter robot. So I've been slowly transitioning the litter box. Not that anyone cares to know this. And sometimes he just would rather pee in the living room when the old litter box is quite dirty, because I'm hoping to entice him. We're using treats, we're using all the things, but he's just a particular man. That's been going on for 2 months at this point, and Rosie got it down the first day, because of course she did. which usually is the opposite. Like, I feel like Rosie's my needy one and Ralph's just go with the flow. So it's okay that he's needy every once in a while. It's just, would prefer if it's not on my carpet, you know? That's all from me. Like I said, the next few weeks are going to be a little bit busy for me. 2 weeks from now, my brother is getting married. 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 weeks. 2 weeks, which would be when I next film. So it might get pushed back another week. So if I don't see you, I hope if you are here in America, you have a good Thanksgiving with you and your family. If you are from outside the world, I hope you get cozy with your knits. Say hello to your pets for me, and I will talk to you guys soon. Have a good day. Bye-bye. You wanna get out of here? You wanna get out of here? You wanna go look at those geese? You wanna look at the geese? Yeah.